Really? Oh, okay. So that's what I'm dealing with. Everything was backwards, y'all. The Matrix is like all of a sudden you're walking on the stairs and then you're walking upside down all of a sudden. You're like, whoa, how did that happen? And it's like you gotta that's what it felt like. And I was like, oh my God, they're actually living a backwards life and they think it makes sense. And I have to keep remembering that. And then I have to find a way to unwire that, replace it with my wiring, which is normal, healthy, protective of him wiring, helping him realize that he was being so abused by somebody that's not stable. Like, they're delusional, literally, okay? They don't have the capacity to be stable. They don't have empathy. And in her case, it was justified, y'all, because she went through serious trauma when she was a kid. So she wasn't able to have empathy. Nobody had empathy for her. So that's what I was dealing with. But he didn't realize that because she was so sweet and kind. She did nice things for me too. She'd buy, and she let him do it. She was so accommodating. She let him do whatever he wanted. But the second that there somebody wanted to have direct communication or like he needed something from her, I'm sorry, like anything that was emotional, even a little bit, it's like, oh no, she can't handle that. Like, she can't, she shuts down and deactivates for like 2 days in her bed, and then she'll just go silent. And I'm like, and I don't like doing that to her, as if I was like, wait a minute, no, okay. Yes, she is a person that is fucked up and deserves to be given passes in certain areas. That though is not that she can't handle it. She doesn't want to hold it. She doesn't want to, but she masks it as she can't. It's too much for her. No. If she loved you, she wouldn't just deactivate. She's stonewalling you. Like, and I've started putting it all together, but yet she acts so sweet and so accommodating, and I mean, basically just, it's like, and then she acts like a compulsive victim. So and I remember the thing she was saying to me. I was like, oh my God, everything. So that's where I go. Okay, so everything she would say to me, that's what she is. And then she accused me of feigning an illness. And I was like, okay, so that's what she's doing. She's acting like she's sick, probably. He probably is with her now thinking she's sick, y'all. And to be honest, she could be. And what he didn't realize and understand is, like, he was conditioned to believe that, like, I don't know if she can function without me. Like, I worry about her. Like, if it wasn't for me taking her to the doctor, she, like, wouldn't be here right now. Like, I took her to the doctor, and by the time she got checked out, like, she had, like, a tooth infection, I think he said it was, or, like, she needed antibiotics, or something. It was something like that, to where they said that if she hadn't gotten those antibiotics, that it would have been really bad. But she waited till there were severe signs of distress to the body, that there was something seriously wrong, that she was so lethargic. That's somebody that doesn't love themselves. That's somebody that cares so little about themselves that they don't even care to bring themselves to the doctor when they're on the verge of death. And you get to look like a hero for getting her to the doctor. But the truth is that she just doesn't love herself. And that's how much she doesn't love herself. You literally had to. That's what I'm saying. You're everything's an illusion, and you're being conditioned to think that, like, there's so many levels, y'all. Like, it's like you're being conditioned to think that, like, she can't function, but she's training you to be codependent, and she's the one that's in control. That's what you're not getting. She's the one that feigns the illnesses. She's the one that is the dance. So she's the compulsive victim. So basically, she would pretend that I put it together, y'all. She was pretending that I was harassing her, that I was hitting her up from numbers and going into her network probably before she did that to mine, so that she could. So basically, everything was swapped. So I finally put that together. I was like, okay, wow, what a mindfuck. And I hope this vent session, y'all, helps people, because I don't think a lot of people talk about it, like, to this degree. because not only is it hard to talk about, but it's like to articulate and not freeze, like analysis paralysis. Because my heart rate is high right now. You know what I mean? Because I have severe PTSD now, just because I had sadly had the misfortune of meeting these people, and I was sent by God himself probably as a blessing to save my person from what he knows not of and is misperceiving as people that love him, that would probably be the first ones to throw him under the bus if they could make a deal and like avoid going to prison. Okay, for real. Like that's the type of shit I was working with. But he really believed, like, and it would crush him, and I would easily be because they like linked together, and they are all threatened by me because I'm a person with real confidence. So I had to keep in mind that I couldn't say too much, because it will destabilize him to learn that all the people in his life are using him to some extent and manipulating him. He thinks that he's in control and possibly even manipulating them. But that's not the truth. It's an illusion. And you think that you have freedom because you're with a woman that allows you sexual freedom while starving you emotionally. Yet, it's a trap to have a fair exchange with me, with somebody that loves themselves, is proactive, successful, to be with one person that you're enough for. You're more than enough. I love you to pieces. I don't need anybody else. Why would I encourage you to sleep with anybody else? Why would you do that with me if we are... Okay, because he was conditioned to believe that he needed a lot of physical, you guys, he needed a lot of it. And it was because that's compensating for his nervous system, desperate for deeper emotional connection. But he was also conditioned to be afraid as fuck of it because he never got it from her. So she would create all these illusions of it being a problem with everybody else, or she would encourage him basically because she was lazy and didn't want to deal with his emotions, but still wanted to be perceived as a sweetheart who's really kind to him, while he accommodates her needs and abandons himself and goes and finds the emotional aspects elsewhere, in turn ending up traumatizing those other partners because she gets the hierarchy no matter what. So it's so distorted. She gets the loyalty, she gets the perks, she gets to keep the marriage if they're married, she gets the final say. He'll abandon whoever if she says she's uncomfortable out of nowhere without explanation. That's how he's been trained. And so the thing she would say to me blew my mind. I was like, okay. I remember her saying to me, you treated him like a pet and kicked him outside like he was an animal. Okay, so that's what you do to him. Okay, I see. So like everything started to come back, and I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. Gold mine. I figured it out. So that's what's happening. And then the vision started coming. And I was like, okay, double confirmation. And I was panicked, more concerned about defending myself, because I was like, I was concerned. I was scared. I was like, why aren't you guys scared? Like, these people actually believe this about me? What am I giving off that's making that? No, it was manipulation. They were projecting it onto me. And they were hoping I would react concerned and like look guilty, because they trained everybody around them that to have emotions is to be unhinged, unbalanced. Because anytime they would try to have emotional conversation, the reason that they didn't argue is because she would be like, I'm not feeling good, my head hurts, I have to go in the bed, okay, like maybe we can talk about this later. And then she would do a whole thing where she'd deactivate, and she, even to the point where she'd just go mute and stare at the wall for 2 hours if she had to, so long as she didn't have to sit and do some communication and hold space for emotions. That's how sick it was. So he really did believe that she just wasn't capable of functioning, that she was like almost special needs, and she was very codependent because of what she'd been through. No, that is a fucking psychopath. Bless her heart. I have empathy for her, and she has justification to be that way, because I'm not going to divulge her business, unlike she does with me, and exploits it and reframes it and misguides it and misinformations it and turns it into something destructive that isn't even real or even makes sense attaching to my character. Thank God my reputation is so so like it goes so far like with so many people that it's very hard to make a dent. Like they to do what they did, y'all. They none of them had to have had jobs. There's no fucking way. Like they probably got so frustrated that like it wasn't going faster because like over a year they were able to knock 1,000 Instagram followers off, and they did manage to steal my verified artist page, Facebook page. And it all made sense to me too. I was like, he had just told me about this TV show where there were, it's like a show about different scams that these hackers do, and they film them, and you get to see, right? And it dawned on me. I was like, okay, so shortly after, that's when my Facebook was hacked. So they must have had a conversation. He didn't know that it was going to happen. He might have not even possibly known that they were associated with that hack, but they had brought it up, probably like, hey, you remember that show we used to watch? That was a wild con, huh? Like, I feel like watching that show again. What was that one episode where he like da, you know what I mean? And so he wouldn't think anything of that. He might have speculated it, but he's gaslit into oblivion too. Like, I literally tried to have a single conversation with his ex-wife, y'all, and she wasn't capable of. So anytime I would touch on something that made complete sense, and I refused to budge from being grounded in reality with my very grounded proof that I'm providing of abnormal behavior, okay, she'd be like, I don't know what to say, Elle. I think you really just need to stop harassing him and his family and get over him. It's been what, like 9 months now, 10 months now? Why are you so paranoid? Like, it would turn into projecting onto me what she didn't want me to get close to knowing, because I was right on the money, okay? And she didn't know she wasn't going to tell me the truth, and she knew exactly. I was like, okay, well, as long as you understand that, at this point I need to protect my family, because my address shouldn't be associated with you guys at all on a cash purchase of a house that was put in a trust fund all of a sudden right after he left. Or the fact that my social security card is gone, and you just spent a year in prison for, having $1 million worth of fentanyl. Okay, I can't say certain things on TikTok. And tell me why you only got a year. What's going on here? Who are you? Who are you connected with? Like, seriously, y'all. I was like, yo, I gotta, like, keep all this shit documented. I realized that, like, my father's landline from 20 years ago was associated with the home purchase. How did they get that number? So I was starting to realize, oh my God, this bitch is nuts. I was right. She's actually psychotic, and she'll gaslight you into oblivion. And it's masked as kindness and being the anti-drama one that is being, like, they project it onto, so even with completely reasonable evidence, and I'm like, yeah, so that's not going to work with me. You can try that all you want. Again, if I present this in court, I'm going to get a kick out of watching you react and see if you have the same reaction in court in front of a judge official. Remember, we had this conversation, and that's why I'm documenting these things, and that's why I'm posting you, because I know how much you care about your image. So I'm doing some social experiments myself, girl. I also noticed that the street name that the house purchase is on is your last name. That's really romantic. So it's like, yo, there was so many things. So you got to notice all these, it sounds crazy, but like, it's all real. And then I was getting phone calls. My phone got hacked, so I changed my number. It got to the point where I had to, I needed to get out of the house that I was in completely. It was haunted at that point. Everything that I was happy. You know how I said I had a shopping addiction? Him and I would talk about the day where we were finally settled into a place and stopped having to move around everywhere. And I kept getting clothes, right? Because I kept losing weight so fast. So I'd buy a whole new wardrobe, basically, and then return it and downsize to the next size down. And he would tell these things to them. and they would be like, what the fuck, dude? And then I got a vision one time. It was this is how evil they are, y'all. I got a vision of them joking, like, dude, you got all those clothes. She's never gonna wear them to the vacation spots because they're not gonna go. That's so funny. She's gonna have to stare at all those clothes she bought and never get to wear them. That's hilarious. And then I was like, whoa, that was a real moment that I wasn't there for. Only them two were there for. And what he didn't realize is they were playing him and they were being evil and sabotaging his blessings, which I was one of. In all the readings I did, he and I were to have like an amazing, very blessed, very harvest, like abundant destiny, right? But it was a literal destiny swap. Like I was like, dude, this is like I entered a portal of like a magical land, and it's like a secret gateway, like Harry Potter or something, because it actually is real. Like they're actually trying to destiny swap, and I have to remember to stay grounded because it sounds crazy, but that's what's happening right now. And they literally, and I'd get visions and hear conversations, and oh my God. Dude. Anyway, I'm going to get off the subject. We're going to do another energy check and get off of this because that was a lot, but there's so much that goes into it, y'all. Her father was in crime and stuff, and he had money hid somewhere, and I think I know where it is. But I'll never tell her. I almost just want to let her know that I think I know where it is and never tell her on purpose. So, yeah, because like that would drive her nuts. And I do think I know where it is. So, anyway, it makes me laugh just like she was laughing. But it's actually funny. I'm not trying to be evil. She just doesn't deserve any kind of reward of any kind because she thinks she can just take people's like legacy from them and then not have to work and barely show up as a mother and then criticize us talking about having a child so that she can convince him to basically everything we talked about that we were excited about turned into something negative. She would distort it and convince that I was unstable and I was trying to force him to change, and she'd modify it and then volunteer herself or this other ex as the right partner to do that with, because this partner isn't going to control you and you're still going to be able to be polyamorous. There's no jealousy. They're not going to possess you and isolate you. That's not what was happening. You're now believing them, and you're probably going to choose them, the shittiest mother on earth that can't even love themselves and show up for themselves. You think they're going to show up for a child that they're only having to manipulate you, because narcissists do that just to keep you. But you think that you're liberated there. That's how abused you've been. And you really feel it in your body that because it is a crisis mode, because you don't know of a world where there's emotional nurturing. You've never had your nervous system regulated, so you panic at the thought of being restricted in a resentful, restricted marriage in which you don't get emotionally nourished, thinking that I would treat you that same way because you haven't had anything else. And you've been conditioned to believe that anything else is bad. So you get in a trap in your head, going from excited to thinking maybe it could work out with her though. Maybe it could work out with Elle. No, but no, it wouldn't, because everybody at some point disagrees, and I want to avoid a conversation where we disagree because I know it's going to turn into an escalated like meltdown of a conversation, and it's going to be the same thing as it was with this person because they can't handle those conversations, and then it's going to turn into a shit show, and if children are involved, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'd have to completely rewire this poor person that feels like he's in control and he's making decisions on his own identity when he doesn't even know what's good for him. His nervous system is so fucked up that it feels like life or death if he can't, if he agrees to, depending on one person, to fit his needs, which he has been conditioned to believe that his needs are high needs. They're more than average, and he knows that, and he knows that he requires more, and he feels bad about it, and he hates himself for it. and I don't expect you to be able to meet all those needs, so I should probably just not, I don't think I can get married. And I'm like, wait a minute. No, you're overcompensating. We need to regulate your nervous system so that it can feel safe. Hold space for you emotionally without it feeling unsafe and like a threat, and unlearn all that crazy delusional shit that she literally like groomed you into believing, and even to the point of a panic to even practice or be open-minded to what I'm saying, the one who has studied psychology for 5,000 hours on the subject. You're so scared that you can't even consider that it would be different, because while I'm saying that with studies to back it up, I'm being projected on everything I'm not, and I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you should fear her advice and what she's saying. Don't know. She's not. What? She's codependent, hon. She's dangerous. Look at how she reacted. She freaked the fuck out when you wouldn't regulate her emotions for her. Like, why is it that unless you tell her that everything's fine, I'm not gonna leave, that all of a sudden she has a complete like meltdown with her heart rate, and like that's not normal. She's unhinged. No, that was after hours of him staring at me, not being able to communicate. Because anytime he had communicated with those people, I mean, I can't even imagine, dude. So it's and I pray, even to this day I pray that because it's the biggest pill ever to swallow is realizing your whole social life and adult life, and even maybe your family, has been a lie and doesn't really love you. And that the girl that I met randomly while buying a chair on Facebook actually was telling the truth the whole time and tried to protect me while trying to protect herself, while trying to heal from trauma. And she was like superwoman, and all I did was make it hard for her. That's a hard pill to swallow. And it's something that he would have to learn in bits and pieces. And not only is that energy draining, and he it's just it's very, very low probability that we'll get that opportunity, because it's truly brain abuse, y'all. It shows up on the scans. It's no joke. Like, he's probably gonna get Alzheimer's early, and it makes me, my heart has broken so much over these types of subjects that it's almost like I have learned to disassociate from it immediately a little bit. Nope, don't go there, because there's nothing you can do. So it's like he's so oppressed. So he had to deal with that like most of his life. I just started having to deal with this through meeting him and being with him and all the people around him that are like psychotic. It's like, I don't even know what to do, dude. I don't even know what to say. It's surreal, and all I can do is pray and hope that he can get himself out of the matrix, and if he ever wakes up, that he can find me and somehow. And I hope he always knows that he can, I won't get a restraining order. He can come find me and run to me if he needed to, even though what he's put me through, unfortunately, I'll probably be fucked up for my whole life, to some extent. But at the same time, my psychic ability is like amplified times 10. So you win some and you lose some. This experience opened my eyes to being able to share and help other people, because this is not like, you really have to spend a lot of hours to learn about this type of shit, dude. Like, and there's a lot of videos on narcissism, but to really put you in the scene and like imagine these experiences, like Sam Varkin is one of the best. Like, he really does a great job of explaining. He's a genius. But there's a difference between conceptualizing and teaching you about it versus putting you in the scene and having you experience it step by step and how crazy and delusional and foreign it is by putting you in the scene and forcing you to imagine that, so that you know it exists, so that you can protect yourself from anything that feels like that. Because it's so foreign that when you do feel it for the first time, which I hope none of you ever have to, because it changes you forever, to learn that people that acted that kind to my face are actually trying to kill me. Dead ass serious. And that is next level. It's like, and then, I slept in his arms every night. Like, and I thought I was safe with him at least, but I actually just wasn't. And that like haunted me for a while, because this is like the real world. This is what's going on. I didn't know. And like, oh my God, I was like so like vulnerable to people like this. Thank God I put these hours in. It was a good investment, because like I'm kind enough to be in grave danger. And I have a lot of stuff that those types of people would want. Seriously. So it was almost like the divine. They're like, it was almost like I felt them. They were like, I'm so sorry for what's about to happen to you, but we have to. Please, just don't give up. Ugh. Yup. And I didn't. I did not. And now I understand that there was so much I didn't know, and I was so open and vulnerable to without that information, y'all. That's why I truly believe firmly and passionately that it should be integrated into the academic criteria to have, like we have health class, like we have home ec, or like there needs to be like a class where they study and they teach people this, because it's so fucking dangerous. You don't have any of the tools. Your body, it's foreign. They're demons in a flesh suit. They don't have empathy, so your brain isn't going to know how to defend itself, and it's going to get dysregulated quick, because they know what they're doing and they don't care, and they're excited. They hope it works as fast as possible. And you might be in a situation where you're targeted and they work in numbers, and they think there's power in numbers too. They thought it would be like an easy takedown to take everything I've worked for, because they thought I was naive and I wouldn't know what was going on and I would just give up. Because they had already put me in the hospital and stuff. And so I was already like unraveling and in a very destabilized place as it was. And they were right to be confident. And that's why the thought of somebody going through that and not having a creative outlet or family around or any support or any friends or the knowledge, they would go through with that. I'm saying that confidently. It would be their only refuge. And so that's why I was so passionate about the fact that this needs to be part of the criteria on how to protect yourself from dark triad personality attacks, because you won't know how to defend yourself. And if you have nobody around you to reground you, because these tactics are very effective on anyone, unless you have the info on what's going on. Your brain is not prepared to process it. It gets so, and it shows up in scans that it's not. And the cortisol levels in your body put your heart at risk, literally, to give out. Dead ass. Literally, it gets that, like, you have 3 times the level of a single person should have in a high category. 3 people in one body. I mean, when I say it in sleep, like when your heart rate gets to 160 when you're 30 and you're not exercising, you're at a resting heart, you're not doing anything. It's just the stress of this crazy foreign abuse, and that's how your body's reacting at 160, to the point where like you're outside and you think you're actually about to crash out and like faint and fall. Yeah, it gets real dangerous real fast, and you're not able to defend yourself. You're not able to protect yourself. So I really, there has to be a way to teach your kids about this, like at least like the bare basic fundamentals on how to at least know to detect, okay, wait, my mom and dad told me that if somebody ever does this or this, that they might be an evil person, or that I shouldn't. It's not like how to ground yourself when you feel scared and unsure. How to detect that you're not around people that you can ask what's grounded or not, like, because it's very, very dangerous. Like it's so, and it happens fast. Like, and that's why it's like, that's why I made this channel, and that's why I'm fusing tarot with psychology. Tarot is great because it helps with self-awareness, because you get to see and consider things from in ways you wouldn't have thought of unless it was laid out like that, and you're like, oh wow, that makes so much sense. And you'll know if it's your message, right? And it's like, I just want to like, my whole thing is just protecting people, dude. And I don't know, it's like an emergency. With what I went through, I truly believe that it's an emergency. Protect your kids, read up, get studied, because there's way more of them than you think there are out there, y'all. 5% of an 8 billion population is terrifying. Thinking people are normal around a man that you love, that you're going to marry, because it all looks normal on paper, and they're so kind to your face, not knowing that the second you leave the room, they're plotting your unaliving, your unraveling, and how fun it's going to be to watch you crash out while you get to get all their blessings. That's next level, like sick in the head, right? And so imagine if your child, or even yourself, imagine you moved to a different state to be with your person, and you didn't know that all of a sudden their ex was going to show up in an emergency situation where they had a horrible fight with their boyfriend, and you're the only one that could help me. I was wondering if I could just stay with you guys for a week. I have my kid, and all of a sudden they're targeting you, and you don't know what's going on, and now you're in danger because your boyfriend is tending to this person that planned this and is manipulating this person, and now you're left alone without clarity, and now they're targeting you online, and you don't know. Now you're getting paranoid. Now you're wondering if you're going crazy because your person has turned on you, and you don't know where he is. You don't know if he's alive, like if he's okay. He's changed his number. I mean, I'm telling you, it feels like a movie, like Hostel. It feels like, one of those things. I'm not saying like torture like Hostel, but it feels like one of those things that like you would be so nervous, and you have reason to. Your body is instinctually reacting that way because you are in danger, but you wouldn't know what to do first. You would just, because there's nobody to talk to. You got to do it. You got to figure it out on your own, and also you're worrying about somebody, and even before yourself, and you're not realizing how in danger you are, and you're still reserving empathy to worry about your partner because you know something's wrong. But what you don't realize is that you're actually the target, and you're completely dysregulated, and you need to worry about yourself first too. And they're about to set you up to go chase him because you're worried about him. Meanwhile, like, they're gonna frame you, and you're gonna go to jail, and they're gonna steal your identity in a second. Don't chase him. Stay grounded and figure out what you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit like that. For real. They thought I was gonna show up there. Guaranteed. I almost can guarantee that they signed a contract which included a clause in which, because a house was bought, y'all, and it was tied to my family's information, just in case, because there had to have been fraud associated with it. Just in case, those are the first people that they would go to get to question, which would give them time to figure out what to do and how to disassociate themselves and frame my family for the house. For real. Because like literally, I don't even know if he did it. They might have done it for him and just And so I was worried about him being framed, even though he knows that maybe they have done this before, but he never would think that they'd do it to him though. But I'm like, yeah, but how did she only get a year in prison when she had $1 million worth of F with intent to distribute? What's going on with that? That doesn't exist. Like, what kind of deal did she make when she's making this offer to you that you're about to go run towards and probably ruin your entire life over? How do you know that she's not an informant and she's getting it was part of her deal to literally set you up and steal your freedom? Like, but I'm the one that's paranoid and unhinged. Meanwhile, I don't know. Why is my address associated? Why did they convince you that I was such a threat that you changed your number? That you're so terrified of me that you haven't even, you just like disappeared to another country. That's not a normal reaction. Like, something is like bonkers here. Like, I don't like bruh. Seriously. She's part of like the cartel or some shit, dude. Yeah. All right, so somebody's looking at somebody's destiny. This might be in real time again. Let's do an energy check, shall we? I'm curious. Wow is right, y'all. And that was a real concern, and he didn't know that I was also psychic. So when I say something like that, and then I started thinking, wait a minute, his reaction after I said that was panic, which tells me either maybe he's an informant, and the fact that I was able to touch on that so easily, when he probably hides it, if it is him, it's one of them. I picked up on somebody's energy in the dynamic. It's either him or her that is an informant, but it makes sense that I feel like somebody was able to get somebody 1 year in prison for like an insane amount of charges. Like, that doesn't even make sense. And the only way I see that being able to happen is if they manipulated it to seem like, well, that was the only way I was going to get that guy, is if I acted as though I was one of them. And please don't send me to jail for 10 years. I thought that I was doing my job. Like, I was scared. How else was I? That's an easy way to negotiate. It's like, no, but you knew, like, you could have reported this or that. So you know what? We're going to agree on a year, but you have to make another deal with us. We don't only want that guy. We want more guys. Do you know what I mean? Like, how easy would it be to make a deal if she thought she might be going to prison for 10 years? If I thought I was going to prison for 10 years and I didn't have empathy, I don't give a fuck if I was married to you at one point or not. I would totally throw you under the bus for less prison time. Like, what? Now, if it were me, I wouldn't do that because I have empathy and I would know that I put myself in that situation and that it wasn't their burden to bear, and I would sadly have to endure that unpleasant experience, which I would never be in these situations. People that have cluster B, though, it's compulsive. They don't learn from mistakes. They don't self-reflect, which supported my theory that she's the sociopath because she didn't learn. But I know that, like, she would manipulate him into doing things that somebody that loves themselves would not do or risk in the past. Okay. And so I was like the angel that was saving his life because and it was so sad watching it because I was like, oh my God, he's heading there, and I just have to hope and pray that he's not throwing his entire freedom away, because if they're willing to get me to do that, to steal my stuff, they're willing to do anything. Literally. That's like, there are no limits. So that's not a traumatic statement. Like, they would throw him under the bus. I don't know why he trusts them so much. The only reason that he probably does is because he's really good with computers and they need his advice for certain things, but he doesn't like associating with them. And so he tries to like stay away, but he also doesn't want to trigger them. He's scared of them. And he's also like military, and they get benefits. You get benefits for being married. So I think that she didn't want to seem like a codependent that wanted to keep him in a marriage that they've been separated in for years. When the truth is that she still wants control over him. She doesn't want to see him go off into a happy life. And she wants those perks because she's a sociopath and doesn't have empathy, doesn't want what's best for him, doesn't want him to vibrate higher. And, you know, fuels his addictions and stuff like that and leads him the wrong way on purpose. Otherwise, because normal people would celebrate me. Normal people would be like, oh my God, you found yourself like such a, like a